Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And in this lesson, I'm going to title it something along the lines of "You get out what you put in," and it's centered around a precept here in the Book of Psalms. That it's pretty exhorting, when you read it and meditate upon it. But before going into that, I want to start off with let's see, neighbor of love. Let's see, where is it? Hebrews 6:10. All right, and the reason is, as we continue to minister, right, and serve the Lord, which is our our service, right? We're unprofitable servants, as the scriptures say. We're only doing that which is required of us. It's still a great sacrifice, right? We've gotten used to it now, but most people can't really live the way that we live because we gave up a lot of things, but it was through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai that it felt easy and seamless for us to do that, right? For us to change our lives, adjust our lives, whatever course it looked like it was on, right? Whether good or bad. But mainly the sacrifices come from things that you may have perceived to be good at the time, right? Maybe you were going to be, something that is sort of glorified in the world, whether it's an athlete or an artist or whatever the case is. And the Lord just so happened to call you right at that time, or right just as you just got started. And that was like a test, right? Where you had to give that up to serve the Lord. And some of the things that we had to give up, it's not that it was inherently wicked, but rather it would take away too much time, right? Like you wouldn't be able to fully focus on that and also serve the Lord at the same time. So you got to drop one, right? And so when you make sacrifices like that and you serve the Lord, these are things that are not easy for people in the world to do, right? And it's not easy for an average person to do, but through the Spirit of the Lord, you're able to do it. And so leading into Hebrews 6 and 10, I might start at 9, but it's to exhort the believers, right? Because it's, as much as the prophets and the teachers are doing a good portion of the work, right? Believers in themselves, right? There's still that overlap between the teachers, the prophets, and then the rest of the believers, because prophets and teachers are still believers first, right? You first had to believe this word before you eventually learn and grew and then started to teach, right? I've believed, therefore I've spoken, roughly paraphrasing. And so the same sacrifices you have to make as a believer, right? You have to make as a teacher as well, right? First and foremost. And so this exhortation is to not just the teachers, but also those that are suffering or sacrificing to live a godly life. And the Most High sees that, right? Yahweh Shai sees that, and he sees your efforts. And always remember that it's not about what man perceives to be a great sacrifice or a small sacrifice. When you look at Yahweh Shai, right, with the woman and the penny, right? I think she had. Let me actually get that real quick. Let's see if I can find that precept. Where is it? Or is it? Did it say might? This is difficult to find. Let's see. No, she hath. Anyway, while I look for it, the point I'm making here is, it's not about. There we go. Luke 21:4. It's not about the sacrifice you make and how great it is in the sight of men, because in this example in Luke 21, and I'll bring it back to the main point I'm trying to make here. In Luke 21, one would look at the sacrifice that was made by this woman here, right, which I'm going to read, as minor because of how much she gave. But the Most High is not valuing or evaluating that based on how much she gave, but what it meant to her, right? It's about the how much she was willing, or how far she was willing to go. So a penny or $5 might not be much for you, and you might hear it and say, "Oh, that's just $5." Yeah, that's just $5 to you. Okay. However, um, however, to somebody else, that may be, their living, or all they have left after paying bills or whatever the case is. And them giving up that $5 to the Lord shows that, hey, it may seem like only $5 in the eyes of men, but to me, it's a very great sacrifice that you are making, because you know how much that means to you. This is Luke 21, and let's see. I'll start at 1. It says, "And he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor widow casting in thither 2 mites." And when you look into the other translation in the NLT, it has mites as coins, small coins. "And he said, Of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast in more than they all. For all these have of their abundance cast in unto the offering of God. But she of her penury hath cast in all the living that she hath." And in Luke 21:4, it reads, "For they have given a tiny part of their surplus, but she, poor as she is, has given everything she has." See? And that's the point right there. So you, as an individual serving the Lord, he doesn't value or esteem your worth relative to others. Okay? Keep that in mind. Because yeah, they may have been casting in, like today, a $50, $100, $5,000, but to somebody who's a millionaire, what's $5,000, right? So it may seem like a lot of money. Oh, $500,000. Damn, this person is going hard for the Lord, but they're making billions. So what's really $500,000? And then you may see somebody cast in $10. Like, damn, that's all you can give the Lord, but maybe they're making like freaking $200 every 2 weeks. And $10 is even them giving that is meaning that they're gonna have to maybe skip a meal or two. And so why is the $10 more valuable? It's more valuable because take that rich man who's making billions and then ask him, why don't you give me $200 billion and put that into the treasury? Do you think he would do it? Maybe not. And yet, he would be looked at in the world as somebody who's given a lot to the Lord because he put forth $500,000. But the Lord is looking at how much are you willing to give based on, how much you have, right? Like it's about how far you're willing to go for the Lord. So why am I bringing this out? Let's go back to Hebrews chapter 6. I'm bringing this out to say that everybody has, the Lord values and evaluates everybody differently, right? And in your heart what you can do for the Lord, and He sees that, right? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai sees that, and they appreciate the work that we do, right? They appreciate the sacrifices that we do. Yes, we are unprofitable servants. Yes, we're only doing what we've been commanded to do, but we're still doing something that this world regards so low that they don't even care to listen to it. Like you have people that don't even care to listen to what the Heavenly Father has to say. Imagine that. Like, imagine you're at a group setting and anytime you talk, people just keep talking over you. Or it could be very quiet and you're talking and you ask a question or you say something and nobody says anything. And then somebody else just sparks up another conversation and then changes the topic. Or you finish saying something very important and they're just all quiet on their phones. Like, wait, what were you saying? And then somebody else says something and then they start talking about that. You would feel very offended. You would feel disrespected. In fact, you'd be upset. Like imagine you're talking to somebody and then as you're in the middle of talking, they start talking about something completely different. You'd feel a type of way. You'd be like, time out, like, what do you take me for? Like, you didn't even, what I'm saying is so worthless that you didn't even bother to listen to it. Like, you're literally, like, am I just invisible? So imagine on a minute scale like that, how offended you would be. And then look at the Heavenly Father, because you talking to somebody else, you're both humans, right? But imagine the Heavenly Father. Or maybe another example is if you have a kid or child or even a woman, somebody that, like, let's take a child, for example. You would be superior to your child. And imagine they treated you like that. You'd be pretty pissed off. So imagine the Heavenly Father, who the majority of the world don't even care enough to just listen to what he has to say via his prophets. But for the elect, they value it so much that they're willing to even put their lives on the line to hear and do and fulfill the will of the Lord. So, of course, the Lord values and appreciates his elect. And of course, he sees the works you're doing. And of course, he sees the things you're going through. So, as long as you're giving as much as you can give, it's not about how much it is compared to the next brother or this person or that person. It's about in your heart, like this woman here, how much are you putting in? How much effort are you putting in to serve the Lord? And he sees that. Okay, and so leading into Hebrews 6:10, for God is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which ye have shewed toward his name, in that ye have ministered to the saints and do minister. So the works that you do to feed his sheep, to put in those terms, the Lord is not unrighteous as to forget that labor of love. You're putting in work for the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will return that. He will let you know that, hey, I see what you're doing and I value it. And now that leads me into my original point, which I'm going to end the lesson on that, going back to the book of Psalms, chapter 18, verse, was it 24? Therefore hath the Lord, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands in his eyesight. And that's important, in his eyesight, not in what man sees to be clean, but what the Lord values. Verse 25, with the merciful, thou wilt shew thyself merciful. See, we're not perfect, and you never know when you're going to be in a bind and you need mercy. And if you're not merciful to others, don't expect to receive mercy from the Lord. But if you are merciful to the Lord, then you'd find a situation where you'd be very afraid, thinking you're about to get cooked, and the Lord might just show you mercy in that time. Right? And King David is speaking from experience. With an upright man, thou wilt shew thyself upright. So if you're somebody that deals morally, fairly, and not in a messed up way, the Lord will deal that way with you. And what that means is, like, in situations that you find yourself in, it will work out in a fair way for you because you move that way, right? It says here, with the pure thou wilt shew thyself pure, and with the froward thou wilt shew thyself froward. So if you're pure, the Lord will be pure towards you. If you are diligent, the Lord will diligently hear you. If you're wicked, then the Lord will show hostility towards you. And what's the point of this? The point is to say, you get out what you put in. If you are constantly doing whatever it takes to serve the Lord, then when you ask for things, or when you need something, or when you pray, the Lord will do what it takes to hear your prayer and to answer your prayer. Right? As they say, quid pro quo, as the saying goes, right? But you got to keep that in mind. So when you serve the Lord, you serve him to the full extent, and he sees that and values that. And as it says here, to the pure, with the pure, thou wilt shew thyself pure. So you get out, once again, what you put in. If you put in that fervency and that diligence with joy and with passion to serve the Lord, then the Lord has your back, and he sees that, and he will reward you. Ultimately, with that salvation, but even in your day-to-day life, the Lord will hear you, he will be with you, he'll guide you, and he will take care of you. So with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and exhorting onto the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rechak Wadash. And until next time, Shalom.